Hello students. As I promised, I'm back with the first video in this series. So what we are going to do is for each chapter we will be solving a few questions. More than the questions, I will be discussing about the concepts also while I'm solving the questions, so that you will come to know about the concepts for the whole chapter. So let's see the first question. The question says that it's 260 kilometers from Patna to Ranchi by air and 320 kilometers by road. An aeroplane takes 30 minutes to go from Patna to Ranchi, whereas a deluxe bus takes 8 hours. Find the average speed of the plane. Find the average speed of the bus. Find the average velocity of the plane. Find the average velocity of the bus. First thing is we will see what this speed and the difference between the speed and velocity is. So let's see that. So first thing is speed is a scalar quantity. Speed is a scalar quantity, whereas velocity is a vector quantity. So being a vector quantity, it will be having a magnitude and a direction. So when we say velocity, it depends on the displacement, and when we say the speed, it depends on the distance traveled. And as you know, the displacement means the shortest distance traveled between the 2 points. So let's say this is Patna and this is Ranchi. So we assume that the aeroplane takes the shortest route. So it will be a straight line. So this will be the distance also traveled by the plane, and it will also be the displacement traveled by the plane. But the bus may be actually taking a longer route. So maybe there may be mountains or something. So the bus may be taking a longer route. So this total distance traveled, the actual path covered, the length of the actual path covered will be actually the distance traveled by the bus. So when we say when we are talking about distance, we generally talk about speed, and when we are talking about displacement, we generally talk about velocity. So but in the case of average velocity, so average velocity will be equals to the total displacement divided by the total time taken. So you have to be sure here that it is average velocity. So average velocity doesn't mean the instantaneous velocity. So average velocity is considered after the total displacement divided by the total time. Similarly, the average speed will be total distance by the total time taken. Is it okay? So we'll come back to the question now. So the question what we are going to do is we have to find the first question. A says that average speed of the plane. So the average speed of the plane is the total distance traveled by the total time taken. So as we saw, the total distance is same as the total displacement. So the total distance the plane travels is actually 260 kilometers, and the total time it has taken is half an hour. So the average speed will be becoming total distance by the total time taken. That will come as 5 to 20 kilometers per hour. What is the average speed of the bus? Question number B. The average speed of the bus will be the total distance traveled by the bus divided by the total time taken. So the average speed of the bus will be 320 divided by 8. So that is 40 kilometers per hour. Similarly, what is the average velocity of the plane? So as we saw, the distance and the displacement both for the plane is same, because we are assuming here that the plane is covering the shortest distance. It's moving in a straight line from Patna to Ranchi. So the average velocity will be equals to the total displacement, that is equals to the total distance divided by the total time. So that again comes to the 520 kilometers per hour. Now, since we are talking about a velocity, which is a vector quantity, we need to give the direction also. So the average velocity will be equals to 520 kilometers per hour from Patna to Ranchi. Okay. Now the question number D asks for the average velocity of the bus. So what is the average velocity of the bus? Average velocity of the bus will be total displacement taken by the total displacement covered by the total time taken. So as we see, the total distance the bus has traveled, let's say some 320 kilometers from Patna to Ranchi. But in fact, if we talk about the displacement will be actually the shortest distance traveled. So the shortest distance is again the 260 kilometers only. So that is the displacement divided by the time taken. So that is 32.5 kilometers per hour P2R, Patna to Ranchi. So when we are talking about velocity, we have to show the direction also. Okay. So let's move on to the next question. So we'll talk about some vectors here. So the question is, if vectors 2i plus 2j minus 2k, comma 5i plus 4j plus k cap, there are three vectors given, are coplanar, then find the value of y. So it's saying that there are three vectors, vector 1, vector 2 and vector 3. So what is the value of y they are asking? So what is a coplanar vector? What are coplanar vectors? So let's see what is coplanar vector first. So see, one thing is one straight line. Let's say this is one vector. This is always in a plane. So one vector can always be be in one plane. Now the thing is, let's draw another vector. Let's draw the second vector. Now the thing is, two vectors can always be kept in a plane. Two vectors are always coplanar. How you can just imagine three dimensionally. If you imagine, let's say there is one vector here, and the let's say the screen of this, the screen of the laptop is one plane. So this vector is in the plane of the laptop. Now let's say there is another plane. Let's say there is another plane. Let's say this is another plane. So if I draw a vector like this crossing through this plane, we will see that the first vector, this vector is in this plane, but this vector is not in this plane. Okay, so what we can do, can we have a plane which can accommodate both of these vectors? So if you see, you can always draw a plane. You can take a plane, join one of the vectors and rotate that plane so that it coincides with the other vector also. So you can always, you will be able to see, you have to imagine it, or maybe do some experiments in three dimensions. There can always be a plane in which you can put two vectors. So maybe you can draw a plane through one of the vectors and rotate that plane to touch the other vector. So both of these vectors will automatically come into one plane. So you can remember like this: the two vectors are always coplanar. Any of the two vectors are always coplanar. Now the thing is, how can we make sure that three vectors are coplanar? So let's say that there is another vector 3. So how can we make that the vector 1, vector 2 and vector 3, all of these three are in one single plane itself? So the thing is, let's say there is one vector, small vector. There is another vector, let's say this one. And there is another vector. Draw it again. Let's say there is vector 1, and we always know that we can move two vectors parallelly. So let's say there is another vector 2. This is vector 1, this is vector 2. So what we did is, we did just move this vector parallelly to here, and this is the vector second. Now you can see that we need the third vector. Let's say that there is a third vector here. So what can we do to make sure that the third vector is also in the plane? So we can do one thing. We can adjust, let's say this is the third vector. We can always adjust this first vector and second vector to make such that it becomes a sum. We know the triangle law of summation of vectors. So vector 1, vector 2, vector 1 into something, some changes in vector 1, some changes in vector 2, and what we make is, we align these three vectors in such a way that it becomes a triangle. And it is always possible. See, in this figure what we can do is, we can always multiply something in 1 so that this vector becomes this way. This vector becomes, this vector maybe increases, and maybe multiply something in vector 2, so the vector 2 becomes bigger, and maybe multiply something in vector 2, something we will multiply so that it becomes bigger and just matches this vector. So you can remember simply like this. I don't know if you understood or not, but you can always do some changes in two of the vectors such that it forms a triangle. We can multiply some constants in vector 1 and vector 2 so that it becomes a triangle along with vector 3. So we can always say that these three vectors are coplanar because triangle is a two-dimensional figure. So that since the triangle is a two-dimensional figure, this triangle lies on a plane. So for three vectors a, comma b, comma c to be in a plane, what we can always write is the vector a or any one of the vectors can be written such that there is some constants alpha multiplied to b plus beta multiplied to let's c, and it becomes equals to a. So this is the condition for three vectors to become coplanar. Alright. So that's what we have done here. We have assumed that let's say the a vector equals to alpha into b vector plus beta into c vector, and we have written this. We have assumed the first vector as a vector, and alpha into the vector b plus beta into the vector c. So we have put together uh, I vector terms together and j vector terms together and k vector terms together. So if you find this I components will be equal, so 2 will be equals to 5 alpha plus beta, 2 will be equals to y alpha plus 2 beta, and minus 2 will be equals to alpha plus 2 beta. So while if you can solve these three equations, you will get the answer of y. So let's see how we are solving it. You see this equation and this equation. If you multiply this equation with 2, it becomes 2 beta here, so that we can cancel this equation and this equation. Equation number 1 and equation number 3. That's it. So what we did is we multiplied this equation with 2, so it becomes equation number 1 with 2, so it becomes 4 plus 10 alpha plus 2 beta, and we have subtracted equation number 3 from it. So 2 beta cancelled. Equation number 3 after so 2 beta cancelled, and this becomes alpha equals to 2 by 3. You got. Substitute alpha in any one of the equation. I have substituted in this equation. You'll get the value of beta, and when you substitute alpha and beta in this equation, you are going to get the value of y. So the answer comes here as y equals to 7. So the main concept here was to explain it to you how you can find that three vectors are coplanar. Okay, so the condition is any one of the vectors should be equals to something multiplied with the second vector plus something multiplied with the third vector. Okay. Now again a question on vectors. The question is vectors a, b and c has been given. We have to prove that these three vectors form a right angle triangle. Now first thing is, if these three vectors have to form the right angle triangle, there are two conditions now. Sum of two of the vectors should be equals to third of the vector. Since it's a triangle, so let's say there is vector 1, there is vector 2, and there is vector 3. So this vector is equals to this and plus this. So something like you are going from here to here, then from here to here, back. Overall what you have done is you have gone from here to here. So this is vector A is equals to vector B plus vector C in this case. So similarly, if we are talking about sum of the vectors, so since it is a triangle and we know that the triangle, the sum of the three vectors can be found with the triangle law, so the three vectors should be forming a triangle in that case. So that means sum of any two of the vectors should be equals to the third vector. So if you carefully see this, you can find that sum of b plus c becomes a vector. See, I plus 2i becomes 3i, minus 3 plus j becomes minus 2j. So this way you can see that b plus c is a vector. So that means these three vectors form some triangle. Now we have to prove that this triangle is perpendicular. I mean right angle triangle. So any angle between any two of the vectors should be equals to 90 degrees. How do we find that angle between two vectors equals to 90 degrees? So one easy thing what we can do is we can use dot product between vectors. So what is dot product now? So my motive of taking this question was to explain you what is dot product. This is also called as a scalar product. So if you see, the scalar product of two vectors is what? So a vector dot b vector. is actually given as A magnitude of vector A into magnitude of vector B into cos theta, where theta is the angle between the vectors. So let's say there is a vector A and there is a vector B. So the angle between the vectors is the smaller angle when they are joined tail to tail. So this is the angle between the vectors A and B. Okay. So when we are finding AB cos theta, this comes as a scalar quantity. This is not a vector. This is not a vector quantity. So A dot B gives you a scalar value that is called the dot product, and that is that we get when we are multiplying magnitude of A, magnitude of B into the cos of angle between the two vectors. Okay, what will happen if theta is equals to 90 degree? A dot B will be equals to AB cos theta, that is AB cos 90, and we know that cos 90 is equals to 0, so that is this is equals to 0. So when you equate A dot B is equals to 0, that means the angle between A and B is 90 degrees. So if you get the cross product of dot product of these two vectors, you will get the value as 0. Alright, so this is how you can use dot product to see whether two vectors are perpendicular or not. Now what this dot product is used for, why this dot product comes, later on in the chapters what you will find is a lot of physical quantities are mentioned in terms of dot products of two vectors. So similar to that is, let's say, work done when a body is moved from for a distance dr, when a force F is applied on a block. Let's say a force F is applied on a block and it moves with moves a distance dr. So what we do is we write work done as F dot dr. So this is the dot product of dr. This is the dot product of two vectors F dot dr. So the small work done dw done is F dot dr. Here. This represents the total work done. When we integrate all these small work done, we will get the total work done. And if you want to know the work done only during the duration dr, so it is given by F dot dr. You can see here that the work done is not a vector quantity. Work done is a scalar quantity because this is equals to dot product of two vectors. So this is the use of dot products. You can use dot product in this question to get it. Now the thing is, we already know that this is the sum of two vectors equals to the third vector. Now any one of the dot products should give you the value as 0. So you can find it individually. If you see A dot B, it's A dot B. No, if you see A dot B, it's not equals to 0. B dot C is not equals to 0. If you do dot product of C dot A, you will find that C dot A is equals to 0. I'll show you how we are going to do the dot product here. So for that, I'll show you how we are going to do the dot product of two vectors. I told that C vector dot A vector, if you are doing, you are going to get 0. That means C is perpendicular to A. So we'll see how it is. Now we'll write C vector dot product A vector is 3i cap. Now that will be equals to, you just do the products between these two, then this into this, and then this into this. Similarly for this, and similarly for this. So let's say what it comes is 2i vector dot 3i vector minus 2i vector dot minus of 2j vector plus 2i vector 2i cap dot k cap. Now you see, wherever it comes as 90 degrees, that is going to be 0. We know that. Let's say this is I cap and this is j cap. So angle between I and j is, I is the unit vector along the x-axis and j is the unit vector along the y-axis. So these two are 90 degrees. So angle between these two is 90 degrees. So that means I dot j will always be equals to 0. Similarly, j dot k will be equals to 0 and I dot k will also be equals to 0. the order of I and j doesn't matter. So if j dot I is also equals to 0, because it's not a vector quantity, so the order is doesn't matter. The dot product is not a vector quantity, so you can say that j dot I is also equals to 0. So what we'll do is, so instead of this, we'll quickly solve this. So if you do 2I into 3I, so what you are going to do now see this I cap and another I cap. So I dot I will be equals to how much? 1 into 1 cos 0. Angle between I and I is 0 degrees. So 1 into 1 into cos 0. Cos 0 is 1 again. So that will become equals to 1. So whenever similar sign comes, you can multiply. Whenever different signs comes, you can just simply put 0. These are different, so that is equals to 0. Different, 0. Different, 0. And if it's similar, if it comes similar, you can put it as 1. So 2I into 3I, 6. I dot I is 1. So that is okay. So if you do I into j, this will be 0. I into k will be equals to 0. Now come to j. So j into I is now 0. J into j will be 1. So this is 1 into minus 2 is minus 2 into 1. Okay. Similarly, j into k is 0. Now you come to this minus 4k dot 3I. K and I 90 degrees, so it is 0. Minus 4k dot minus 2j, again 0. Minus 4k dot 1k. So minus 4k into 1 minus 4 into 1. So this gives you 0, you see. So that means C dot A vector is equals to 0. So we can say that C vector is perpendicular to A vector. Okay. So this way you can see that first thing is what we have checked is B plus C is equals to A. That means it forms a triangle. So those three vectors are forming a triangle. Now one of the angles should be equals to 0. So we found that C dot A becomes 0. That means angle between C and A vector is equals to 90 degrees. So this is the case. So it is a right angle triangle. Hence it is proved. Now the second question is determine the unit vector parallel to the cross product of the vectors A and B. Now what is a cross product? We'll see what is cross product. We just saw dot product. Similar, there is a cross product. Cross product is also known as vector product. This means whenever you do a cross product between two vectors, you are going to get something which is also a vector. The previous one in the dot product, what we saw is that was a scalar quantity. So, but here the cross product is a vector quantity. So when you do cross product of two vectors, so the quantity what you are going to get is again a vector quantity. Okay, so A cross B becomes equals to the formula is you multiply A magnitude into B magnitude into sine theta, where theta is the angle between the two vectors, and this is represented by a unit vector. So this unit vector will have some direction. Now the unit vector will be, that means this whole quantity is a vector quantity now. Now this unit vector n cap will be perpendicular to A vector also, and this vector will also be perpendicular to B vector. So the cross product or vector product when you are doing, it gives you the third vector, which is actually perpendicular to both the vectors. So that means, let's say this is a plane. So let's say this is a plane, and there are two vectors in this plane itself. So let's say this is vector A and vector B. So when you do the cross product between this A and vector B, so there the third vector, the cross product vector will be, this will be the cross product, A vector cross B vector, and this will be B vector cross A vector. Okay. Now the thing is, how do we know which one is which direction it will be? So for that we use some rules. So I'll tell you both the rules. So there are two rules which you can use. So this is coming from below. So the first rule for direction will be the right hand thumb rule. What you have to do is you have to keep your palm on A. If you have to find A cross B, then you have to keep your palm on A vector and curl your fingers towards B vector, and this should be done by the right hand. So if you are keeping your vector, you just see that you have kept your palm on vector A. So you have kept your 5 fingers open palm on vector A, and what you are doing is you are curling the fingers towards vector b. So you have kept your palm something like this. So you have kept your palm towards the vector a, and you are curling the finger towards vector b. You will find that your thumb is towards this direction. So this will be the direction of the thumb. So this will be 90 degrees to this, and this will also be 90 degrees to this. So this is your a cross b vector. So similarly, let's see what happens when we do the cross product in between I, j, and k. So let's say this is the I vector, right, in the x direction. This is your j vector in the y direction. So these two are in one plane. You have to imagine it. So these two are in one plane, and this is your k vector. So when you keep your palm on I vector and curl it towards j vector, you will find that your thumb points towards k vector. So I cross j will be equals to k vector. Okay, now turn your hand backwards and put the palm on j vector and curl towards I. You will find that the thumb points towards minus k vector. So that means j cross I will become minus of k vector. Okay, so similarly you can try for the other cases. Another rule is the screw rule. This is screw rule. This will be right-handed screw rule. So there are some left-handed screws also, so we'll not bother. Generally the screw will be right-handed. So when you're taking two vectors, let's say there are two vectors, a vector and b vector. So what you have to do is you have to keep a screw here. You have to keep a screw on this point. Keep a screw on this point perpendicular to both the vectors a and b. And you have to turn from, let's say if you want to do a cross b vector, so you have to turn from the first vector to the other vector this way. So if you turn the screw in this direction, what you will find, whether the screw will come up or it will go down. I mean, the screw is getting tightened or it is loosened. So accordingly, the movement of the screw direction will be the direction of the cross product. You have to imagine in the situation here. Because this is a 2D, I cannot draw everything. So what you need to basically do is, let's say there is a vector A and there is a vector B. Let's say this both are in a plane. What you have to do is you have to put a screw here, screwdriver here. You have to put a screw here actually, and you have to turn the screw. You have to turn this screw from the first vector to the second vector. So let's say you are turning this vector from A vector to B vector, the screw from A to B vector. What you will find that in this direction the screw is coming upwards. So this will be the direction of A cross. If you want to find B cross A, then what you have to do is you have to turn in this direction. So if you will find that the screw is going downwards. So this will be the direction of B cross. So I cross J vector is equals to K vector. J cross K vector is equals to I vector. And k cross I vector is equals to j vector. All other things will be negative. So if you find j cross I, you will get minus k vector. Similarly, k cross j, you will get minus I cap. So if you find I cross k, you will get minus j cap. How you are going to remember this? You just have to think that when you are pointing this I, j and k in a sequence when you are writing, so this is your correct sequence. I to j, j to k, and k to I. So this is your correct sequence of going from one vector to other vector. Any changes in this sequence will give you a negative answer in cross product. You can remember it in this way. So if you take I cross j, you will get plus k. If you take j cross k, you will get plus I, the other vector you will get. If you get k cross j, it is in opposite direction, you will get minus I. If you get j cross, if you do j cross I, you will get k vector, but it will be negative sign. Similarly, if you do k cross I, you will get positive j. If you are doing I cross k, you will get negative j. So this is the thing you have to remember. Okay, so let's come back to the question. So the question says here is, there are two vectors and we need to find a unit vector along the cross product of the vector. Okay, so first let's find the cross product. So we did a cross b here. So we did a cross b. So similarly as we did in the dot product, similarly you have to do it here in the cross product also. So you just have to remember that similar signs will give 0 here, and the other things will give some value. So I to I will give 0 because sine 0 is 0. So angle between I cap and I cap is 0. So you know that cross product is actually given by a b sine theta. So sine 0 is 0 here. So if you see 3 6 6, this is 0. So if you do 3i cross 5j, what will get? 15 k cap. I to j is k, 15 k cap. Similarly, I to k, if you do 6 j cap, it will be in minus j cap, 6 minus j cap, because it is opposite to sequence. So k cross I is j cap, but I cross k is minus j cap. So it becomes minus 6 j cap. Similarly, if you do for 5j, 5j multiplied to 6i, so j into I will be minus. So 5 into 6 is minus 30 already. So minus minus becomes plus 30. So plus 30 k cap. Similarly, if you do 5j to j, since these are same signs, so it will be 0. We need not write it. So minus 5j to 2k. So j to k is the positive direction. So it will not have a negative sign. So minus 5 into 2 is minus 10. So j cross k is plus I cap. So it's okay. So similarly, you can do with others. So you see that a cross b becomes this much. Now, what is unit vector along any direction? What is unit vector along a vector? So let's say you have a vector which is 5 into something, 5 I cap or something something something. So or let's say, to make it very simple, what I'll do is I'll draw a vector 5 I cap only. So let's say there is a vector in direction of x-axis whose magnitude is 5. So what is the unit vector along this direction? So unit vector is I cap. We know that. That is, so the unit vector means the vector whose magnitude is 1. So how do you find this? So what we do is we divide the vector by the magnitude of the vector. So this becomes I cap. Similarly, if a vector is given in terms of some x I cap plus yj cap plus zk cap. So how we are going to find the unit vector along this direction? So let's say this is the unit vector along this direction. So how we are going to do this? We are going to divide this vector with the magnitude of it. And what is the magnitude of a vector given in this form? So if you are having a vector x I cap plus yj cap plus zk cap, the unit vector will be x square plus y square plus z square under root. This is how, sorry, not the unit vector, the magnitude will be this. So this is the magnitude of the vector. So what you have to do here is you have to divide this by under root of x square plus y square plus z square. This gives you the unit vector along the direction. So you got this a cross b vector here. We need to get the magnitude of this a cross b vector. So this is 60 square plus 54 square plus 45 square. You will get this much. So the unit vector along that direction is, let's say, n cap. So what you need to do is you divide the vector itself by the magnitude of the vector. You will get the unit vector along that vector's direction. So a cross b is a vector. It is having some value 60i minus 60i cap, 54j cap, 45k cap. So you divide this vector by the magnitude of that vector, you will get the unit vector. Okay. All right. Next, move on to the next question. Now, just to explain you, like let's say how I am saying that. Let's say vector A is equals to x I cap plus yj cap and plus zk cap. How vector A's magnitude is x square plus y square plus z square under root. So I say that vector A's magnitude is under root of x square plus y square plus z square. How it is so? So you already know that, and there are two vectors, vector A and vector B. How do you know what is the resultant of these two vectors? So let's say this is the resultant of these two vectors. So you know that the resultant magnitude is given by under root of A's magnitude plus B's magnitude plus 2AB cos theta. Right? This is a case of two vectors. So let's say there is some x I cap plus yj cap. There is let's say there is some vector b which is given by this. Let's ignore the z portion now. So if this is the two one, how you find the resultant of these two vectors? So basically b is written in terms of I cap and j cap. That means there is some x I cap vector in this direction and y j cap vector in this direction, and this b vector is the sum of these two vectors. So in that way, if you write, how you are going to get the magnitude of b vector? X square under root plus y square under root plus 2 into x into y cos 90 degrees, because these two are perpendicular. That means x square plus y square under root. Similarly, if this b vector was written as xi cap plus yj cap plus zk cap, the magnitude of b vector comes to be equals to under root of x square plus y square plus z square. Is it okay? Okay. Now let's move on to the next question then. Okay, so this is one more question. We'll see this. A mosquito net over 7 feet plus into 4 feet bed is 3 feet height. So let's say this is your bed. So this is the bed here. So this is the bed. So this is the bed, and this is the mosquito net. So this is the mosquito net on top of it. 7 feet length into 4 feet is the bed, and 3 feet is the height of the mosquito net. So a fly is, there is a fly, the mosquito here. It flies and sits at the diagonally opposite upper corner of the net. Okay, the net has a hole at one of the corner of the bed. Okay, so here is the bed. So bed, there is one corner here, is here the hole is, and diagonally opposite upside it is going and sitting here. So this is going and sitting here. Now what we have to do is, we have to find that, first question is find the magnitude of the displacement of the mosquito. So how much displacement this mosquito has done from reaching B to point E. See, one is ignoring everything and doing the simple mathematical way in which we can directly find the length of this BE. So how we are going to find is, see, this is B, and this is C, and this is D, and this is E. So you know that this is BE. So BE will be the hypotenuse of the triangle BDE. If you see BDE, so first we need to find BD. How much is BD? So if you see BD, so BD is the hypotenuse of the triangle BC and CD. So first we need to find the BD. So BD will be the hypotenuse of the triangle BCD. Okay, so BC is how much? 7, and CD is how much? 3. So 7 square plus 3 square, that is 58 under root. So this is equals to BD. Now what is BE now? So this one you have already got. BE, you know that this is 4, and these two are all are 90 degrees. So BE will be equals to the hypotenuse of the triangle BDE. So BE will be equals to whatever we got for BD square plus 16. 16 is this 4 square under root. So this you are getting as 74 as the answer. So this is the trivial way of doing it. Now what we will do here is, since we are working here on vectors, we'll try to solve this question by using the vectors. So now the thing is, what is this displacement vector in this case? See, when I'm talking about displacement vector, let's say a body starts moving from this point, moves at this point, then he moves from this point to this point. Okay, so what we generally do is, we say that the displacement of the particle is from this point to this point, directly, start to end. So what you can do is, this is, let's say, A, B, and this is C. Okay, so what you can do is, so let's say this is the displacement vector R vector. So what we can tell is, R vector is equals to AB vector plus BC vector. This is what you know from the triangle law of addition of vectors now. So if you are moving from A to B, B to C, that means you are moved from A to C. So this is the resultant vector. So R can be written as AB plus BC. In this figure, what it is? So if you want to apply the same thing here in this figure, what we can write? The mosquito, instead of traveling directly from B to E, we can say that the mosquito has traveled B to C, C to, let's say this is G, C to G, and then G to E. So we can say that, so this vector is actually equals to BC vector plus then CG he is traveling, and then he is traveling to G into GE vector. Is it okay? So BC vector, if you consider this as the x-axis, and this as the y-axis, and this as the z-axis. So what you can write is BC vector is equals to directly 7 I cap, because this length is 7 and we have considered this in x direction. So 7 I cap we can write, and the CG vector we can write in 4 j cap, and the GE vector we can write 3 I cap, 3 k cap, sorry. So we saw in the previous question how we are going to find the magnitude since all these vectors are perpendicular to each other. So simply x square plus y square plus z square, 7 square plus 4 square plus 3 square. So this is your answer directly. So instead of doing so much of calculations, we could have directly done this if we are using the vector, using this in vector terms. Now the second question is taking the whole as the origin. So this is asking us to take the whole as the origin. So this is what we have already done. Origin, the length of the bed as the x-axis, its width as the y-axis, and vertically up as the z-axis. The same thing. Write the components of the displacement vector. So the components of the displacement vector we have already written. So 7 I cap, 4 j cap, and 3 k cap. So components are 7 in the x direction, 4 in the y direction, and 3 in the z direction. So that's what. Is it okay? Yeah, fine. Okay. Now we'll see something, little bit of calculus. So calculus will be coming later on also in physics. So I will be explaining whenever it comes. So let's see this question 22nd. The question says that the electric current in a charging RC circuit, R is resistance and capacitance. We'll study it in when we are studying electricity. So resistance and capacitance. So there is a resistance, there is a capacitor also added in that. That kind of circuit is called as a resistor capacitor circuit. So it is given by I is equals to I naught into e to the power minus t by RC, where I naught, R and C are constant parameters of the circuit, and t is the time. So at any instant the time is, so if you see this equation, at any instant the current is not constant. So every time the current differs. It depends on the time. At what time you are measuring the current. So this current is variable. It depends on time. So if you plot a graph of I with respect to time, you will find that the graph goes something like this. So this is e to the power x graph actually. So this graph goes something like this. So it will come somewhat similar to this. Okay, so there is some constant here applied, and there is something. So this is e to the power t we will write, because we are drawing the graph with respect to t. So this is the graph of e to the power t something. So something is multiplied and some changes are there in t. So you will find that there will be somewhat similar kind of a graph will come for this particular equation. So the question here is find the rate of change of current at t equals to 0. Now we'll see what rate of change means. See, rate of change, there are two things: differentiation and integration. You have to study these things in mathematics also. So very basics I will just tell you here. Differentiation is actually slope of the graph. It is rate of change. Okay, in terms of graph, integration is area under the curve. It is also, you can refer as summation. Summation, you can crudely refer it as summation. So actually basically when you draw a graph, let's say this one, we want to find what is the slope of the graph here. So if you find the slope of the graph here, so you could have directly done it by differentiating the graph and putting the value of x at this point. So this you will get the rate of change, I mean this slope of the graph. And differentiation is also rate of change. So for an example, if you see what is velocity, it is given as dx by dt. Okay, so this is differentiation of displacement. So that means rate of change of displacement, this differentiation is also called as rate of change. So rate of change of displacement is equals to velocity. How do you write velocity? Let's say 5 meters per second. This means what? Per second 5 meter of distance is traveled. 5 meter of displacement is traveled per second. This is rate of change, no? How much displacement is traveled per second. The rate of change of displacement with respect to time is called velocity. So this is given by this one. Similarly, what is the acceleration? So dv by dt. So rate of change of velocity with respect to time is given as acceleration. Okay, so how do you write acceleration? So let's say 5 meter per second square. So that means 5 meters per second. Okay, no? So what happens is the velocity is changing 5 meters per second in each second. This means this. So that is what the acceleration. Acceleration means change in velocity. So acceleration here means that every 1 second the speed is increasing by a value of 5 meter per second. So let's say at 0, if the speed was 0, so after 1 second the speed will be 5 meters per second. After 2 seconds the speed will be 10 meters per second. After 3 seconds the speed will be 15 meters per second. So this is the rate of change. So rate of change of velocity with respect to time, we are saying that this is acceleration. So differentiation can be told as a slope of the graph. And if it is a graph, you can refer the slope as the differentiation of the graph. It is also the rate of change. Okay, for integration, actually if you want to find the area under the curve, so let's say this is y-axis and this is x. So if you want to find the area under the curve from x equals to a to x is equals to b, and what we need to do is we need to integrate this curve y with respect to x and put the terms from a to b. This is what integration means. You can for the formula and all, you can see your mathematical part. Also a few formulas will be given in your books also. So it is also referred to as summation. Summation in the sense is, what we are doing is we are actually summing small rectangles area. You're trying to sum small rectangle areas here and find then the total sum of the area under the curve from here. So this is also summation of a large number of things. So crudely we can write, say that integration is summation also, wherein the distance between these 2 points, one of the rectangles, is very small. So this delta x tends to 0. You will understand when you are reading the mathematics related to the calculus. Okay, so a large number of such summations if you get, you will get the area under the curve also. So both are similar. Okay, so we'll come back to the question again. So since it's asking the rate of change, what we have to do is we have to find the differentiation of this I with respect to the variable t. Okay, so dy by dt of this particular expression will be how much? So we know that d by dx of e to the power x is equals to e to the power x. Okay, so since this is constant, the constant has come out. So e to the power x differentiation will be same. But since it is not the same, there is constant associated with that. This particular expression will also be differentiated again. So that will become minus 1 by RC. Okay, you should be able to get these things in your mathematics classes. Okay, so the di by dt becomes this much. Now, so what is di by dt, or what is the rate of change of current at t is equals to 0? So you simply have to put value of t is equals to 0 in this expression. If you put t equals to 0 in this di by dt expression, you will get I naught by RC. Similarly, what is di by dt? That means the rate of change of current at t is equals to RC. Similarly, the same thing, we need to put RC value of t is equals to RC. You will get the value of this one. Similarly, the third question is t equals to 10 RC. You put, instead of t, you put 10 RC here in di by dt value. You will get this one. So this is the way you have to solve this. Okay, next let's go to the next question. Now, since this is related to area, that you must have understood that we have to do some integration here. Okay, so what is it? There is a curve given y equals to 3x square plus 6x plus 7, and we need to find the area under the curve with respect to x-axis and between x equals to 5 to x equals to 10. So we simply have to differentiate it. So we know that x to the power n integrated. So we know that x to the power n integration is x to the power n plus 1 divided by n plus 1. Okay, if some constants are there, if some constant a is there, a will just simply come out. Okay, so since we need to integrate this one and this one, you see that 3x square integration will be 3 has come out as it's a constant, x to the power 2, so x to the power 2 plus 1 divided by 2 plus 1 with this formula. Similarly, plus 6 x square by 2, here it is x to the power 0, so 7x integration is 7 into x to the power 0 plus 1 divided by 0 plus 1, so it becomes 7x. So now since it is a bounded integration, that means there are lower limits and upper limits here. So what you need to do is, after the integration, you can write it simply like this, from 5 to 10. So initially we have to take this value and put it in this expression, then minus, take this value and put it again in this expression. This is how you do integration with bounded limits. Okay, so if you put 10 in this expression, it becomes 1000 plus 3 into 100 plus 7 into 10 minus, put again 5. So this is what the value you get when we are putting 5. So the total value you are getting is 1135. So this is the area under the curve. Now the second question is, what is the area under the curve given by y equals to sin x? So if you know the graph of sin x, you will see that this is the graph of sin x. So sin 0 is 0. So this graph will be between -1 and +1. Okay, no? So sin x varies from -1 to +1. So sin 0 is 0. Sin pi by 2 is equals to 1. Sin pi is again 0. Sin 3 by 2 is -1. Sin 2 pi is again 0. So the question here is, it's asking the area from 0 to pi, x equals to pi. So this area it is asking. So we again have to integrate sin x from 0 to pi. So what is the integration of sin x? So if you say integration of sin x is minus cos x. So these formulas will be there, you will get it in your books. So you have to integrate it from 0 to pi. So this limits, when you first time you have to put pi in, so it is minus cos pi, minus, again you have to put 0. So minus cos 0. So minus, what is cos pi? Cos pi is -1, minus, what is cos 0? Minus, cos 0 is 1. So this becomes 2. So the area under the curve is, area under the curve for sin x is +2. Okay, let's see the next question. Okay, so that's it, that's it students. We'll see you in the next class. So this was a basic this was a class for basic mathematics included in physics. We'll come again with several other questions and maybe a new chapter. Any doubts, you can ask me in the comments, and also please like and subscribe the channel. Also, if you are finding difficulty in some of the questions you are already having, you can post those questions and I'll try to solve it in the next class. Okay, thank you students, thank you.